One of the leading causes of the housing affordability crisis is a lack of supply. And now a startup born out of Airbnb's design studios, building and delivering tiny homes called ADUSs. And we're going to talk about what this really is to customers in California. They're built in the backyards of so many homes. The aim of creating extra space, multi-generational living, or potentially rental income. And joining us right now is Joe Gebbia, is the co-founder of Samara, also, by the way, co-founder of Airbnb. Also on the board of Tesla. Mike McNamara is here, co-founder of and CEO of the company as well. Good morning to both of you guys.
Good morning.
So tell us what this is. I mean, I've seen it. It's amazing. These are tiny homes, but they're not that tiny actually, and they're on your property separately from your actual house.
That's right. Well, Samara's mission is to improve the way people live by reimagining the home, and the way we do that is by designing, manufacturing, and installing ADUs in backyards. Now, ADU stands for Accessory Dwelling Unit. And you probably have seen it before as a casita,
right,
a granny flat, a backyard home, a guest house. And this kind of flex space gives people, homeowners, the potential to dream bigger about earning rental income, about housing family, like elderly parents or kids coming home from college.
And how did this started in part because of your experience at Airbnb?
That's right. Yeah, the idea was born when I was leading an innovation team inside Airbnb, and I was actually in the market for a factory-made ADU, and I was incredibly frustrated by the lack of a beautifully designed product that was turnkey for the customer and had an easy way to finance. So Mike and I spun this out of Airbnb, co-founded Samara together to bring our solution to this fast-growing market.
Why didn't Airbnb want to do it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Airbnb is an incredibly profitable software company.
It's just a different business.
It's a different business.
What's the cost of one of these things?
Well, it depends on what you get. So we have units all the way from 420 square feet all the way up to 950 square feet. It depends how they're configured. There's some configuration options. And typically it ranges anywhere from 250,000 square feet all the way up to 450 or even 500,000 if you get a fully loaded two-bedroom, two-bath.
And most people who are buying these are buying them because they want to turn them into an Airbnb, or most of these people are doing this because they want extra space on their property, either for family members, as an office, as a what?
Yeah, so most people, probably 50% of the people in the demand that we see are people that want to rent them. They don't do them on Airbnb because typically cities don't allow short-term rentals when they're in your backyard.
Yeah.
But they do it for long-term rentals, and that's the primary use case that people are putting those in the back.
What's the zoning issues, though, with these things? That's what I was going to ask, because, you know, people have a certain amount of property. Sometimes you can't build something too close to your neighbor. How does that work?
I'd like one for my yard, but not for my neighbor.
Right.
Well, each city and state and municipality will have different rules. What's happened in California, as an example, is they passed all kinds of pro-ADU laws. So it's actually a right.
Because they have such a housing problem.
Because they have such a housing problem. So it's actually a right to have one in your backyard. If you put it 4 feet from the fence, you put it 6 feet from the home, you put it no more than 14 feet high, and you have a right to put them in. So it's basically kind of guaranteed.
Yeah, but I can't even put a fence in my town. We asked, we got denied. So
sometimes the homeowners associations get out of control.
It's not a homeowners association; it's a town. I would think in the Northeast you're going to have bigger problems.
These are pretty complex issues, and homeowners aren't experts in construction, which is why part of our offering is we handle all of that for the customer.
So how does this work? So it's literally you go on the website.
You take care of the permit.
And you guys, yes, they're doing all of that. So explain how this works.
Yeah.
Right. So people go to samara.com and you configure your unit. You choose a couple options you can customize: the size, the footprint, some of the materials, and then we get to work. 3 things happen at the same time. We start the production process in the factory. We visit the site and start the land prep in the backyard, which takes about 4 weeks to put a foundation in. And then the third thing is we start the permitting process. And so it's really a hands-off process for the consumer.
How much does it cost me if the permitting doesn't go through? Because, again, I would love one in my backyard. I can't imagine my town would allow me to do it, given the run-ins that I've already had doing simple stuff.
The prices I mentioned is inclusive of all those things. So it's
but what if they turn me down and I can't do it? How much?
So what we do is before we start doing the work on the unit, we will go to the city, we'll apply for a permit, we'll do all that for the homeowner. We actually know, because we've been in the business long enough now, that what are the constraints that are going to be in each of the different municipalities and whether or not there are any constraints with homeowners associations.
So right now,
we'll do all that work for you.
Right now, this is just in California.
Correct.
The question is, when does this go national? For those of us on the East Coast, for example, who might want one of these things.
You know, we started in California just because the market's so good for ADUs. People need space. They can't move out of the home. The cost of living's tremendous. If you do it for rental income, you have very high rental income. So we started in California. And the other thing is, in 2016, California started passing pro-ADU regulations. Right. So between 2016 and 2023, the demand for permits, or the increase, has gone up 20x over that very short period, to the point of it's 1 out of 5 of every building permit that gets submitted in California is actually an ADU. So we started in California because the housing crisis is most difficult, it's most acute, the return on investment for rental is highest. And what we've seen is this tremendous adoption of a lot of these ADU laws across the country.
So where do you go next?
Well, you actually saw New Jersey and New York just recently start talking about passing a lot of ADU regulations.
And that's what you would go if they would pass regulations that would make it easier.
So we need to make sure we have the market. We need to make sure we have the right product market fit. It's a little bit different, just in terms of climate that we'd have to deal with out here. The supply chain is a little bit different, and we were waiting for the ADU laws to all adopt. Because like you mentioned, in your property, you can't do it.
I can't do a fence.
So we love the idea of starting in California, really perfecting our model, driving our scale, building our brand, and then kind of heading east.
There's about 8
in the next few years.
Yeah. That's right. There's about 8 states who are modeling California's laws around ADUs as we speak, including New York, New Jersey, and Colorado, and many others. Right. So we'll follow those across the country. It's
crazy to think that you can just buy. It's like what you've done with Tesla. You're on the board of Tesla. You can buy a house on your phone.
The permitting is the biggest issue. You deal with the permitting and getting the land set up.
And we do all that. Yeah. And the other thing that you mentioned, Tesla, is we do financing as well. So if you think about really simplifying the process, most people that buy another home for their property need financing. Just like when you go to the car dealer, you go to Tesla and you want to buy a car, you have this amazingly easy process to lease it or to actually finance it. So you have a choice. So we do the same thing. We have our own financing product. We're a licensed mortgage broker, and we'll take you all the way through the financing process. So it's just a very simplified system. And comparing that to building construction and pounding a nail in your backyard one at a time and listening to that for a year, it's an unbelievable process.